Fun times. All right, guys, welcome to the Drag and Drive Show presented by Summit Racing. We're on episode, Eric, is it 11 or 12 tonight?
This is, hold on, 10. We're on 10.
No. We're way past 10. This has got to be 11, I think. Something like that. Well, this is your weekly live stream for the Drag and Drive community. We have guests on. We take some deep dives into the cars, the racers, and the manufacturers that push this sport forward. We actually, on this episode this week, we get this over here. This week's show has three-time Summit Racing Midwest Drags champion Terry Miller on. I'm excited for you guys to hear that story. He's had the car a long time. It goes really fast. NA, which I know a lot of you naturally aspirated guys are excited about his performance. We have a pre-recorded episode with Eric Saffell of AFCO Racing or AFCO Performance Group, talking about ball joints and bushings that could help you go faster. That's at the end of the show. And then we're going to jump in after this to event updates. And then I was on another live stream today, so we're going to talk about that as well. So let's get to it. Y'all, if this is your first time here, my name is Mike Narks. I run dragandrive.com and am part of the Drag and Drive addiction team across all social media sites. Eric, tell them who you are.
I am Eric White. I run 815 LSX Swaps, which is a YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all about LS swaps, a couple of our personal builds, and then also run Motorsports Paparazzi, which is my newest brand. And that is me going to all kinds of automotive events, photos, videos, event coverage.
Dude, you're going to be busy this summer. We've got Eric going to be out at Sick Summer getting content for us while I am at Summit Racing Autocross Week. Dude, let's talk about event updates because that's one thing we talked about in the live stream with someone else today. Do you want to hear day counts for the upcoming Drag and Drive events?
It's coming quick, I'm pretty sure.
Dude, Southeast Street and Yeet, Devin Vanderhoof and Laura Weber were on today as well. There's a few spots of registration remaining there. It's in 34 days, all 8th mile, all North Carolina type stuff, all in that area, all 8th mile, really fast. They've got 5 or 6 different classes, tons of stuff going on there. My event, the circuit, which you're coming down to, I don't know who you're going to room with in the hotels, but we got you taken care of. And I've got an announcement on 2 other photographers that are coming down as well here in just a few minutes. So the circuit is in 44 days. That's right, 10 days after the start of Southeast Street and Yeet. And in 51 days is Cruise and Lose in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is just north of us here. So you have April 4th through 8th for Southeast Street and Yeet. Then you have the circuit the next weekend. Then you have Cruise and Lose the next weekend. And then King of the Open Road has their first event of 2023 on the end of May 27th and 28th. And then I just realized I'd left out Carolina Drag Cruise in that as well. You can find all of these dates and links to the registration pages and more info at dragandrive.com/blog. And then scroll down, look for the 2023 dates. So King of the Open Road announced their September dates for Tucson and their November dates for Ennis, Texas, for the Texas Motorplex as well. So all that stuff is on the on all of the lists, the 24 events that are on the dragandrive.com/blog page. So, oh man, I see Jay Blanchard here in the comments. Hey guys, shop night at Fast Act Racing. Those guys came in third at Sick Week in one of the 850 classes. I know they're not satisfied with that, so they are. I'm sure they are pushing to get that much faster to come back and maybe repeat their championship at Midwest Drags. So we're excited to talk about that here as well. And then I guess I'll tell the circuit photographer. So Chris Story Photo is our official photographer of the event. We do have today, I found out that Jesse Fox of 3G Video is coming down to take photographs as well. And Bill Elkins and the Parts Online Network team, they are coming down as well to the circuit. So it's going to be a packed house with photographers. I cannot wait. Each photographer brings such a different aspect of the event and the participants to the mix. So I'm really excited to see everybody's I don't know, everybody's take on the circuit. We're going to be driving about 200 miles on Saturday through Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas back roads. We spend a lot of time on Route 66. So I think there's going to be a plethora, to use a big word, of photographer or perfect photograph moments for all the racers. So 125 cars. We are sold out. We are taking people on the wait list. Find out more at thecircuitdnd.com.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And then I guess that puts 4 photographers in. But one thing you don't really know yet is that I'm going to really ask you to work more video and maybe see if we can get out a couple different videos throughout the day, because for 2023, we won't have a live stream, but we are planning for one for 2024's event. Just got to get a little better setup. I want to do live from the road and everything. So, so congratulations, man. You're going to get to edit a bunch of videos as we go through the day. So,
hey, whatever. I'm there to get content. So whatever that is, photo, video.
Well, there should certainly be enough of it. There's a lot of really fast cars that are coming, especially in the unlimited 8th mile class, where we expect to have a lot. And then, of course, my favorite class, the 850, the street race power adder class, it has a large group of people that could run low, really close 850s, or they can run faster, but that's the goal. That's the target. That's where we want them to be. So
you're going to teach me how to use that big fancy camera?
Yeah. You better start working out now, dude. I'm telling you, that thing gets heavy by the end of the day. I was looking at some pictures from Street to Strip photography, and you can see my arms start dipping by the end of the day in the photos he was taking. So that's the way it works. Well, I want to start off. Last week, I put out a challenge, I guess is what you would say, for the Parts Online Network guys. Got a hilarious picture of me, and I'm going to pull it up here. We get it pulled up. So I'll put out a challenge. Hey, who can come up with some funny memes and things like that with this?
We got a new hashtag this week. Unfreeze your face.
Hey, listen, I don't know what the deal is with the whole setup here, but it is frustrating. Believe me. Oh, I see it's frozen up now. So hopefully the pictures won't freeze up, but I don't know why. Maybe I got all the friends or all the family inside the house that are online right now getting all their stuff. So can you guys see that there? It's taking up my entire screen. Okay, perfect. So thank you to Bill Elkins for getting this shot. This is hilarious to me. I don't know what I was looking at. I don't think I would have been making that face, but I do look like I'm looking directly at him. So I assigned that, hey, people put that out there. See if you can do some fun stuff with us. Joe Camaro came up with this one here, and I love it. You said you had a lot of money invested. Yeah, in Dragon Drive hotel reservations. That's exactly right. I'm not even going to talk about what we spent in 2022, but it will be more in 2023. So we thank our sponsors for making all of that happen. And then obviously this one here, just to kind of get the thing going. I mean, anytime you're next to Cletus, I don't know how tall that grass is, or if I'm really short in that picture. I don't know. Maybe
I like it.
Yeah, this one here was one of my favorites as well. This one was done by the Parts Online Network guys. I think Bill did this one. And then I would take some beach stuff right now for sure. And then on the screen, if that's not someone's screensaver, I'm going to be upset. And then you guys can see some of the other stuff we're going to talk about here in a minute as well. But I'm going to close those out. So pretty fun there.
Pat Cook here says that camera will be real heavy if you video my passes.
I don't know if we have that kind of battery life on the camera, but maybe he's bringing a big motorcycle, not the Grom. We'll see. I don't know. I love the Grom story. I think it'll be a great trip if he does bring that through the backcountry of Kansas and Oklahoma. So
yeah, here we go. Street Race 850 is going to be tough this year.
Mm-hmm. It already is tough. We're going to talk about that in a minute with some of the tight races on the top 100. But, Aaron Schaefer almost created a new record that's as close to 850 as possible. So pretty exciting in that class.
And this one's funny. Dan Chandler, the Wednesday night DD meeting. My name is Dan and I'm an addict. Love it.
Yes, dude, that is great. That is great. Yeah, I see Dino saying this picture is hilarious. Yeah, Grom for the circuit, faster bikes for race week. Dude, I'm excited, Pat. That's going to be so cool to have you out and about with that. And one of the route stops is the Northwest Arkansas Children's Shelter. So we are obviously, anytime we are going to support that organization, we're going to try and go by there. That's why we are headed through Oklahoma and Kansas and Arkansas to end up there for ice cream and some, I don't know, maybe we'll leave our mark on the road out front. That's kind of the plan. So, I'm a big fan of burnouts and ice cream. So we're working to try and get all that handled right now, actually. So excited to do that, and excited to have the Davis Plumbing Cruise Night. So to have give everybody a night off, it won't be 3 days of racing. It'll be 2 days of racing and 1 cruise night. So be kind
That'll
of
be
fun.
cool.
And yeah, and it's going to be good. There's a lot of folks that have never done this that are entered. And so I think it'll give them an opportunity to relax a little bit before we head back north on Sunday morning to finish out the weekend. So I want to let Joe Camaro know I will be reaching out to get your address to send you the Drag and Drive Addiction t-shirt. So thank you for making the meme there. I think that's pretty funny. And there were a few others, but some that I couldn't post up here, with our sponsorships, didn't want to make it awkward. So yeah, Matt Walter here says newbies by the beer. That is correct. The parking lot we have for Friday and Saturday night is large enough for everyone to hang out in. So let's talk about today's episode with the Parts Online Network live stream. They've got a new, I don't know if they're going to turn it into a podcast or what, but it's called Tractions Edge. And I was one of the guests on it. We talked about dragandrive.com racer lists. We talked about the deal with Summit. We talked about what that means. We talked about the explosion in drag and drive. Those guys have been drag racers and have now, kind of come into this, and they're planning a lot of events to go across the country. They're coming to the circuit. We talked about that. And then we actually got a little bit nerdy, Bill and I, for a few minutes about stats and things like that within the drag and drive community. So pretty fun listen. And then Devin Vanderhoof and Laura Weber were on talking about his experience at Sick Week. And then obviously the upcoming Southeast Street and Yeet Drag and Drive event in North Carolina. Again, spots are still available if you have not registered for that one. From the way everybody talked last year, it looks to be amazing. So I hope to make maybe the fall event or something like that. I just can't make down. Hey, let's talk about real quick before we move on. So can you give a full breakdown of the circuit schedule? The plan is Friday morning, we begin registration and tech around 9, probably earlier than that. And then we will the track goes hot at 11. So we'll do a driver's meeting right along in there somewhere, 10:45, 10:30, something like that, to go over kind of the rules for newbies. Track is hot from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. For us, it is closed track from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. with just the circuit racers running on it. And then it opens up to a, Friday night test and tune that Mocan handles all the time. And then Saturday morning, my plan is, now you guys can do whatever you want, but my plan is to stay at the hotel in Kansas. We'll get up Saturday morning leisurely around 9 and start heading south, come down through Big Brutus, which is the largest electric shovel in the world. Did you know that? It's huge. Like the tracks on this thing are like 10 feet tall. So I think it'll give some really good photography moments. And then we go to Cars on the Route, which is in Galena, Kansas, which was the Radiator Springs of the Cars movie. It was kind of the, inspiration for that. And then we drive down Route 66. I think it's 140 miles down to a city called Foyle, which has a vintage gas station. And if you guys want to follow along with all of the adventures of it, you can find the circuit on Facebook. It is a full event. And then we also have a Facebook group. But I'll be posting all of the route stops and cool things to find along the side of the road while we're doing that, because within the circuit, Carl Bright and the Simply Organic Soil team sponsored a scavenger hunt, which is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have basically 50 or 60 items that you can find along the side of the route there to take pictures with. And then we are going to award the scavenger hunt team rally hunt, which is what we're going to call it, we're going to award them at the Davis Plumbing Cruise Night. So it's going to be kind of fun. We've done a few different rally hunts in the past, and they are always a blast to see people's creativity. You know, one of the biggest things we do is, well, one of the examples is find a bathtub, be in the bathtub for more points, be in the bathtub with water, or the bathtub be in water. So a lot of really goofy, fun stuff like that. So
Nice.
that's kind of the layout there. And then we will leave Davis Plumbing Cruise Night from 4 to 8 at the Rogers Pinnacle Hills Mall here, which is a huge area now, had a lot of restaurants and things like that. Davis Plumbing is buying dinner for the racers and co-pilots of the event from the For the Love food truck. And then we'll go on, do our thing, hang out at the hotel parking lot, and then get up Sunday morning, drive back to Mocan with one route stop being the Route 66 mural in downtown Joplin. So pretty fun. And then the racing starts at 11, awards at 6. Pretty easy stuff. I see Bill Elkins here. What, I just walk in on bathtubs? Yeah, it's pretty wild. Red Hat Scotty here talks about what about the shirts for the circuit? I mean, do we need to tell them, Red Hat, that Red Hat Scotty is one of the feature shirts on, or one of the featured cars on the shirt, as well as Boo Quamso, because whoever is the fastest quarter mile average and the fastest eighth mile average, both of those people will end up on the shirt for 2024. So congratulations to those guys for making it 2022 event being the fastest. And then 2023, I don't know who we're going to see. Boo is contemplating entering a quarter mile and eighth mile class. We have rules that are set up for that. You have to turn in an extra pass for each class, but you have to share a pass for each class as well. So you have to make a minimum of 3 passes per day. If you join 2 classes, if you just do one, you can do 2 pass minimum per day. So anyways, yeah, I feel like that was a lot.
Did you say leisurely get up at like 9 a.m. and leave?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my plan. So
if we're getting photos and videos, I think we have to be ahead of everybody else so we can get those.
yeah. Sure. I'm in on that. And that's the truth. Like, we'll have photographers on through the route. I'll have some ideas of route stops or of photography spots before you guys get here. And then with having you and Jesse and Chris and Bill and the guys at Parts Online, you know, you guys can really spread it out. And so as we get to route stops, we'll kind of gather up a little bit. I think a lot of people are going to convoy. And so we'll end up gathering up, and then it'll spread back out, and the photographers can just run on ahead and get set up at those spots that we've got. So Tyler Basham here asked, what were those times that Boo and Scotty made? Boo was a 5:30, I think, at that point, and then Scotty was like a low 10-second average. So we only had 25 cars last year, and we are fully sold out at 125 plus a few. So yeah, Bill Elkin says, yeah, the road shots will be great. It's going to be really, really cool. That part of Kansas and Oklahoma are really, really neat. So a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that as we move forward. I feel like we're getting behind here. We gotta let's get rolling, dude.
Right.
Did you see did you get the message that Michael Borgren is selling Volvo?
That is wild.
Pretty intense. His stuff. Let me run through this. So, because he said in his post that the car is going to be ready to go 100%. You could literally buy it and go race a drag and drive event. It is a 6-second proven drag and drive car. It will be set up complete the way it is right now with spare parts. So I went back, I looked at some history stuff. 3 of 4 finishes at Hot Rod Drag Week, took second place in modified at Sick Week 2023, 2 weeks ago. Okay, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then 691 was his best average so far, and that was Sick Week 2022. So proven 6-second car, proven 200 miles an hour. When I asked it, because immediately when I saw it, I think it had been up 4 minutes, and I messaged him. I was like, man, tell me what's going on. Let's, how can I help? Obviously we want to see that car keep moving through. We don't want him to take it apart. I think he said he maybe going back home for a couple weeks or months. I don't know. So anyways, got a lot of stuff going on there. He said, I'll go through the whole car and engine to make sure it's 100% fresh and ready to go to any drag and drive event. It will come with spare parts and everything to do it. I'm going to be available for tuning and support for anyone buying it. He said, this is what I thought was pretty cool. He said, 4 people can split it since it's got a back seat. He said they ran 4 people in Florida all week. So I thought that was pretty funny. I can't,
Yeah,
4 people going in buying the wagon would be kind of cool. So
that's how you can afford it.
well, I mean, it would almost have to be for me, anyways. I asked the wife if we could just refi the house and buy it, and she said no. He did end up saying the car would most likely be priced somewhere in the mid 90s. He wouldn't give me an exact price, but I think you guys can understand. Like that car is definitely worth whatever he's going to ask for it. So
And HRA
it's fun.
stock said it also won Roadkill Nights too.
Yeah, yep, and that's part of the photos I have, but I don't think I could get them to come up right now.
So is
That would be.
he building another car, or what's his plan? Do you know?
He didn't really say. I just think there's some work stuff he's trying to get handled and all that. So I think he's sell the car now, build something later. I mean, obviously that guy can't stay away from this stuff. He's been at the top for so long; it would be very hard for him to end up back, not at the top, essentially. All right, what next, dude?
Close races on the top 100.
Yeah, won't you lead us off with that, because this is going to be a fun read through here, and then I want to take this later and post some pictures of the cars.
All right. So Bradley Arnold and Andrew Dopita.
Yep.
Okay. 0.007 difference for the number 7 spot. So with Brad leading at a 7.535. So
Yeah.
that's 0.007. That's
and I think Andrew is limited to 750. I think that's what his cage is started for. I don't know about Bradley's. His car is really fast, so it really surprised me. But yeah, 7.535 average for Brad, and that car moves out. So, and obviously Andrew's right behind him with 7.542, like 0.007 difference.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if that will keep them in the top, 10 or 20 this year with all the events.
Yeah. We also have a tie for 24 between Jason Pickett and Evan. You're gonna have to help me with that one.
I was going to say Yerquits or Urquits.
Yeah, that looks about right. 8.480 averages. So that's kind of wild. A tie for 24th of the 848.
Yeah, there was actually there was another tie down in there. I think I missed it. Oh no, yeah, Darslaws and Galpertano, they're tied as well. So you'll see that sometimes on these drag and drive events, but it's really strange to see it at the same event. By the end of the year, we'll have that happen a few different times. We had a 3-way tie on the 2022 list between Larry Albright, Clint Sadowski, and Brent Sinclair in the 750 range. So again, those cars kind of run in index stuff, get down to their absolute lowest cert. So Matt and Jerry Sweet lead Aaron Schaefer by 0.002 with an 8.509 for number 26. Here's where that is pretty interesting in my mind. Matt and Jerry can go faster by certification on their cage, and Aaron is limited at an 850 with his cage. So, as time goes on, who knows? Will that stay? Will Matt and Jerry go faster when they come back to Midwest Drags to defend their championship spot? So
then we got William Luan and Jordan Boudreau with a 0.001 difference. Jordan posted today that he's looking for more races, so maybe we will see him at another event this year.
I would hope so. And those are the guys that were literally duking it out the Friday of sick week. So those guys, again, limited to 850. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what ends up happening there. Will we end up with a full 850 list this year as well?
Yeah.
Scott, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we got Howie Price here saying he's in the shop working on his drag and drive trailer.
Yeah.
And we got a Facebook user that he's in the top 20 and plans to stay there.
Well, you better get fast, big boy, because it's going to take a bunch to go top 20 this year. So Scott Mueller and Timothy Blythe are separated by 0.001 for the 39th spot at 8.684. So that's a tight race. And Timothy Blythe built that car brand new, went from I think like 10s or 13s. No, I guess it was 10s to 8.6s. So pretty wild.
Yeah. Darce Laws and Guy Pertano are tied for number 47 at 8.881.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing to think about as we move through the year. Talking about lists is in 2022, this 888 would have kept you on the top 100, but I just truly don't know if it will for 2023. One saving grace for a lot of these racers in this 850 to what I feel like 870, maybe the cut, is that racers can only populate the fastest 100 as their fastest average. Okay, so let's say Guy Portano comes out and runs an 850 at the next event or 870, he will move up the list, but can never move. Like we would never take a slower pass of his, and he would not be on the list with an 880 and an 870. Does that make sense? So he wouldn't, one driver wouldn't take up two spots, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Unless they raced in different cars, which is a completely different setup.
Yep. Said he's got a 6.0 cert, so
awesome.
Very good.
Yep. And then I see Rowdy says, top 100 will be 850 and faster. I think that's probably true. I think we're going to end up, I hope we end up in the 840s. If we only end up with a few 850 cars, because we have always done a 9.0 list, 900 second list. If we can end up with just one or two 850 cars on that list, I'll do a top 25 850 car list as well. But we got a long way to go before we get there, because right now, Cooper Bogetti hangs on to the final spot with a 10.3. So lot of stuff. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Read us through the next one there too.
Yep. We got three racers are close for the number 79 spot. CJ Roberts is the fastest with a 9.831. We got Brent from PFI and Jay Grayback tied for 80, both behind by 0.009. So these numbers are incredibly close when you start talking.
Yep.
We've talked 0.001 through 0.009 so far. That's pretty tight.
And again, this is on their average, not their fastest pass. So when you start thinking about, if one, I don't really care about your fastest pass of an event, but two, the average is what lets you win your event or your class during these events. So that's what we focus on. And that's where it's the absolute hardest, because you end up having to stay consistent. You can't just go out and make a blistering run and then lay back. So I think that's what I like about Midwest Drags as well. They do 2 passes per day. That's why we adopted it for the circuit, because we are less days of racing, but we want people to still go out and make passes. Rick Trunkett holds the number 99 spot with a 0.004 lead over Cooper Bogetti at the number 100 spot, and Cooper's is 10.323, which is actually slower than the number 100 spot of Joel Clark at the end of Sick Week 2022. Why do I have all this knowledge in my brain? Dude, there's so much knowledge after.
Well, when you got to put all these lists together, you got to know these numbers. So
yeah, and I get, like I said today on the live stream with the Parts Online Network guys, I'm pretty nerdy when it comes to that stuff. So the next big question is, what will the bump spot be after the next big event, which we don't have until June, but we have a 235 national list that is coming up, and Southeast Street and Yeet is a national event by day count. So it is all 8th mile racing. So it will actually, there will be names that populate from Southeast Street Meet in the 235 class, as well as a national level 275 plus list that will be created along with Southeast Street Meet. So we have several events this year that are eighth mile, either having eighth mile classes or an eighth mile event standalone, like Miles of Mayhem, Southeast Street Meet, Carolina Drag Cruise, things like that. So we're going to have all of that. We're going to have all of those lists, but I wanted certainly to break it up into a 235 list. And I put 275 plus because typically we don't see very many what I would call big tire cars or unlimited type cars, things like that. So I want to say thank you to Summit Racing for sponsoring the dragondrive.com racer lists. That partnership is going to turn out to be huge for Drag and Drive racers. I'm already obviously working on an award show for PRI for everybody, but we're working on something very, very big right now that could really help the entire community. So I'm excited to see where that goes. We just got a few more things to iron out. Maybe I can announce it right before Southeast Street Meet. So we'll see. But a lot of conversations with Summit right now. So thank you, Summit. And if you haven't done it yet, buy your parts at Summit.
Bill here says hero passes are just that, all out, send it through the walls of the block type stuff. Average is the way to track.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just makes the most sense. Well, we're at a point now where I think we probably need to thank one of our sponsors. And so we're going to play this ad for you real quick that I put together today.
Molly Motorsports is the official piston of dragondrive.com. Molly's Power Pack piston is the perfect candidate for your drag and drive car. Molly Motorsports competes in drag and drive events and supports our community.
Sorry. One more time. Will you pull the Bill Elkins comment off? That's what I was trying to get to.
Molly Motorsports is the official piston of dragondrive.com. Molly's Power Pack piston is the perfect candidate for your drag and drive car. Molly Motorsports competes in drag and drive events and supports our community. Project manager Eric Grillo raced a 10-second stick shift Nova at Hot Rod Drag Week 2022. He's also competed in Rocky Mountain Race Week last year with his C10 truck. Visit mollymotorsports.com for the most recent line of products.
So I want to hear the comments. What you guys think of the voice in it? That's a hired actor for that one that I didn't pay any money to. I want to say thank you to Destroyer 1320 for doing that for me. His voice is way cooler, way more commercial. I think he has a great radio voice. So had him do that. I really appreciate him getting all that together. And here's what's crazy. The picture of that black Nova ended up, that was Eric's car, and it just happened to be right on the number. It was completely by chance. So
nice.
Bill, that was decent. I appreciate that.
I liked it. That was good.
Yeah. I think it's better than me blasting through that stuff sometimes, So, yep. So, yes. All right. Last bit, and then we've got Terry Miller here in the back, y'all. He's been patiently waiting and listening to me blabber on about drag and drive stuff. So I want to talk about the events for 2023 that I plan to attend and see if maybe there are some others that I can get to. I know there are a few other single day races that I plan to attend as well. So the circuit, obviously I'll be there. I host that. That is our event. This is the 5th year for that event and 10 years of hosting drag racing stuff. Cruise and Lose in Lincoln, Nebraska, which we talked about earlier, is the next weekend. King of the Open Road in May, Oklahoma City, and then Summit Racing Autocross Week. So if you guys like to turn, which I typically don't like, I like to drag race. So Autocross Week, I'll be there announcing with our Summit Racing friends, and then Summit Racing Midwest Drags. Of course, I'm going to be back for that. If you didn't know, I feel like Summit Racing has the best, or Midwest Drags has the best live stream that is in the game right now. I think we will have some competition as the year goes on, but I'm telling you, with what we've got coming and what we did last year, it's only going to be better. We've got pit announcers, we've got actual cameras in the lanes talking to people. So for the folks at home, we are literally looking at it like it is a completely different production than the typical live stream that you get, which is a lot of the track. So we're going to have a lot of that. I did like what Sick Week did this year with cutting to some videos and clips and commercial type stuff. We're going to add a lot of that in as well. So the production team is chomping at the bit to get started on Midwest Drag stuff. I'm going to be at Nostalgia Nights, which is in Bunker Hill, which is north of Indianapolis. That is in August, which is an 8th Mile event, regional, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or no, Thursday, Friday, Saturday racing. And then back to the Carolinas for Hot Rod Drag Week. I'm intending to do Race Week, the Rocky Mountain edition, with my brother. I'll be I'll be media, but he races that event in the Project Adam Ant from Narcoleptic Customs. And I think with the way some scheduling will go, maybe I can add in another event, in there somewhere, because the King of the Open Road has Tucson, Arizona the weekend before. So I'm going to really work to get out there a lot this year and still keep my day job. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Southeast Street Meet in the fall. That is another event. And then of course, PRI, and I'm going to be as close to the Summit booth, or if I'm not in it, maybe I'll just like carve me out this little bitty corner in the back of the Summit booth for PRI, because we're doing the dragondrive.com Racer Awards presented by Summit Racing. So I'm pumped about what we're going to be able to provide for you racers this year.
And while you're wandering around, we're going to get a cardboard cutout of you to put in the booth. So that way, if anybody misses you, they can still get a selfie.
Yeah, I think my plan would be to hang out most of each day and then run around like a maniac, instead of what we did this year, which was run around like a maniac all day, each day. So
yeah, I'll definitely be back at PRI again this year too. I always love going to PRI. You mentioned the circuit. I'll be down there for that. That is also my birthday weekend, so that's what a way to celebrate.
Yeah, we'll get you some ice cream, do some burnouts.
You bet. Don't you threaten me. Sixth summer, I'll be at that.
Yep.
The autocross week is something that hopefully another year that's not on the same week, because I think that would be fun to attend. I do want to check that out. Nostalgia Nights, I'll be there. And then I don't have the date, but One Weekend Garage, they've got a local
One Guy's Garage.
Here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
It is towards the end of September, I think 22nd through 24th.
Okay. Yep, that's right in my neck of the woods, so I'm going to hit that. And then Motorsports Paparazzi is going to be at a lot of local car shows, autocross events, and this weekend at World of Wheels in Chicago.
Sweet. I do want to talk about One Guy's Garage real quick. Nathan Shaw and his wife put that event on, and this is the first year that they've ever created a Facebook event for it, and they are only allowing 50 racers. 50. So they've done that event for 5 or 6, 8 years, something like that. Lots of people return to that each year. So I think they will only have a few public spots that are available. So if you want to get into that, look up One Guy's Garage Drag Weekend.
Yep.
Titus here. This is so cool. Makes me want to get to an event, maybe even make a pass. Dude, do not threaten me. Get out here, have some fun. Titus is a good friend that has also done the Gambler in a lifted limo with a stick shift conversion. So he's our kind of friends for sure.
Yep.
All right. Dude, are you ready to bring in our guest who's been patiently waiting in the back?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, Rowdy says we need a full-size cutout to ride along in the back seat. I'm in. Sign me up. Just find the trunk monkey Don and put a Mike Nark's face on it. All right.
So that picture that you got with, the picture for the memes, do I need to put that on a shirt when I go to Sixth Summer?
I think so. I think that's going to be a new fun thing we're going to mess with all the time. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. All right, dude. So Terry Miller, if you don't know, AKA Mr. I drive the loudest car on property. I see him shaking his head here. Let me give you a little bit of history here real quick, and then we're going to bring him in. So he said, I've done several. He had done 4 events. Well, I get back to looking. He's actually done more. 2007, he started. ended up with the DNF, and then we don't see him again until 2017. So I want to find out what he ran, what he raced, because he was modified PA or modified power adder for everybody out there in 2007. And then he comes back in 2017 with a modified naturally aspirated car and running less than 9-second average, 8:98.999 average. So pretty impressive. 2019, 2011, 2019, 2021, and 2022. He is the three-time three-peat modified NA champ at Summit Racing Midwest Drags. Best average so far was at 2021 with an 8.646. Everybody at home, let's give him the clap. Wait, I don't think that sounded right. Well, dude, welcome.
How's it going?
Man, I'm excited about this because, one, I love your car. Third gen Firebird stuff is right up my alley. My wife really wants to build a white one, and we just, I don't know, haven't dove down that track yet to add another car to the fleet. So it's exciting. One thing we want to know is, one, who you are, and then what you race and what you do. So why don't you give us like a quick overview of who you are and what you race and what you do.
My name's Terry Miller. I'm from Oxford, Iowa. I own an auto repair shop here in North Liberty, and yeah, I'm in about everything else, I guess. First off, I'm wondering how I get those cool backdrops like Matt Walter's car.
Hey, you're up next, I'm telling you. The thing about putting a red car behind my face is like it may make your car not look as red.
So you want to hear about my car?
Yeah, definitely.
So I've owned this car for literally 30 years this year. I bought it for like $900 from a buddy way back in high school, and it had a blown up engine in it. It was from Florida, so it's pretty rust free. All original body panels other than the hood. And I don't know, I've always been intrigued in racing, so I started by getting it painted literally in a auto repair shop that was dirtier than ever, and it turned out good somehow. But yeah, it's had a small block in it most of its life. I think 2016 I finally switched out of a small block, but I guess you were asking me about a few things. But in 2002 I was working at a shop in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Sperry Engines, and I decided I want to build a pretty awesome small block. So I saved up and just kept buying engine parts, and I built a 436 cubic inch Dart block, Pro Action 23-degree head engine, which it made about 750 horse. But for 2002, that was pretty good.
That was a bunch, yeah.
And it ran, I think, right off the trailer. Thing was crazy. And it turned over 9,000 RPM, but I think it ran like a 930 right off the trailer at 3,780 pounds.
Wow.
And it was a 15-to-1 engine, had a really, really good camshaft for NA, but it wasn't very nitrous friendly, I found out. So yeah, learning nitrous was a huge learning curve for me. I just literally did it myself the hard way.
Nice.
So Drag Week 2007, that was my first try at Drag Week, and failed. I wasn't pulling enough timing out on stage 2 of nitrous, and literally made it to the third day and melted the pistons literally out the cowl induction hood scoop into the windshield. There was literally aluminum chunks stuck in the laminated window.
Wow.
Yes.
So it was a pretty cool backfire, but that was about all I could say about that. Yeah, it took a few years to after that I stuck with the small block, but I made it more nitrous friendly, and I raced it locally here. We had a Iowa, they called it Iowa True 10.5 class, and we actually I think I got it down to running some real low fives with like 350 horse nitrous.
Yeah.
Car was still weighing 3,300 pounds ish. It's not a super light car.
No.
So, but yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, over the years, I think I read that you had a couple different co-pilots. So any shout outs you want to give? You want to give those guys some pats on the back?
Oh yeah. Joe Rosnick, he's one of my best friends. He's been literally always there. He did 2019 with me, or actually, sorry, 2017 drag week. That was brutal. And then 2019 drag week, or Midwest drag, sorry, the first year. And even though everyone's not prepared sometimes, well, 2017, I had raced that engine that was in my car literally for 3 seasons without changing anything in it. Didn't even pull it out of the car. And I go to drag week thinking I'm going to pull a trailer behind me. We pulled down some decent passes in Cordova, and we head to St. Louis, and it was 100 degrees that day. Oil temperature was getting warm. Water temperature was getting warm. We get about an hour north, or 100 miles north of St. Louis, and he looks over at me. He's like, I think I hear something. And I'm like, I think so too. And we pulled over and ended up breaking like 6 valve springs, but one of them was so bad that it literally the inner spring literally wore a groove in the titanium valve pretty deep. And
wow, we
got stuck there until, I'm thinking like it was 3 or 5 in the morning somewhere. I don't even remember, it was so long ago, but wow. We were changing valve springs at a gas station on the side of the road. And we rolled into we literally changed oil, got the valve springs in it, changed oil, and we headed to our hotel in St. Louis. And we got there at 6:30 in the morning. And I remember John Puckett, he's like, hey, you guys are up already? And we're like, we haven't even went to bed yet. And I think Joe was actually driving from the passenger seat on some of the roads. And it was horrible. But we were tired. We got to the hotel. We had a couple hours of sleep, and I woke up and I look out the window, and literally it looked like it was raining out. And I'm like, oh, man, we got to get to the track. Made it to the track. Dennis Taylor actually did a huge wheelie right in front of me on my first pass after I already thought I wasn't going to get a pass, after everybody was already almost gone. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, now I'm really screwed. But we ended up making it happen. We ended up finishing 3rd overall that week. And from there on, it wasn't too bad, but my torque converter was tightening up. It wasn't a great thing, and it kind of slowed me down. So my average just barely was I think an 899, like you said. But 2019 Midwest Drags was very similar. I actually was running behind getting some engine parts, decided to build a whole nother motor, of course, the same cubic inch, but aluminum engine to try and get some weight out. And the night before we had to leave, I was in Chicago at Tommy Olson's shop with my engine on the dyno, and first couple pulls, 7,000 RPM, it just kept dropping oil pressure, and I knew something was wrong. So he literally let me stay there and tear this engine apart on the dyno, and I literally went to Menards and had to get some makeshift stuff to grind some stuff out in the engine, literally in the engine, to make it work. And he's like, dude, you just stay here. Call me when you're ready. So 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of Chicago, literally, he comes back at 1 o'clock in the morning. We make a couple pulls to 9,000 RPM, and it was like perfect oil pressure. And I was like, that's good. I didn't even spend time tuning it, but at least I fixed the problem. So my dad drove literally all the way home for me. He went with me, and we got home at 5 o'clock in the morning, pulled into my driveway, and my dad's like, I'm going home. And at that point, we should have probably been leaving. But the motor
was still out of the car at that point,
yeah,
right?
I literally started putting the engine in the car, and my buddy Joe showed up at noon. He called me at like 8:30 in the morning. He's like, ready to go? I'm like, nope, I just got home. So I had the car running. He got there at like 12:30, filled it up with water, whatever else, and threw a bunch of tools and some stuff in the trailer, and I started it up, backed it out of the shop, literally put it up against a trans brake in my driveway, and everything seemed to work fine. And I pulled it in the trailer, and he looks at me. He's like, you're not going to drive it down the road? And I'm like, nope, we're good. and him knowing how I am, like trusting me, he literally was like, all right, let's go. Yeah. So we headed to Midwest Drags, and I think it was Ohio that year, where we stopped and made it just in time, and ended up winning that deal with little to no problems. And
that's wild.
So, and then the next 2 years, Seth Hill, he has helped me a lot with this new car I'm building, welding it and stuff like that. Like I'll build and he'll weld it together, and we kind of like come up with different ideas we want to do, and we'll conquer it. And so he's helped me a lot on that, on the second half of that build. And so he decided to go with me in 2021, or I asked him and he came along, and you realize that you got to kind of rely on each other. And that was one thing that I did. I was like, "Are you sure we got to turn that way?" And he's like, "Dude, we got to go this way," So I realized that I got to trust him as much navigating and being there as he trusts driving with my crazy driving.
I'm telling you, co-pilots they're the key, man. These guys that do this thing solo are absolutely wild. I can't imagine doing an event like this solo.
Oh yeah, it's nice having somebody there, but you also have to have somebody that you can deal with stress, and being tired, exhausted is the hard part. Like, some people just can't function, and both my guys have helped me a lot, and we push on and we make it happen.
Yeah.
So what was there? Why did you have a break from 07 to 2017?
From drag and drive, I had a break, but I was actually racing the 10-inch tire stuff in that time frame. I hit it pretty high. I actually built a shop at my home, so it was kind of expensive. So I kind of took off 2011 and 12, and then 2013 I got back into the heads-up racing, and that's when I kind of switched over to a 275 drag radial just to kind of be different, and it's worked for me. The heavy car and the way I've got the car set up, it works really well. But I was running mainly a lot of nitrous back then, and then 2017 is when I decided to do the NA thing. I just took it's a nitrous engine, and I literally pulled the manifold off and put a regular manifold on it, and decided to do the NA deal just to make it simpler so people knew I wasn't cheating or something.
Gotcha. So
Somebody's
even though you
calling
were,
to tell you they're seeing you on TV.
though you took,
Go ahead. I was just saying, somebody's calling to tell you that they see you on TV.
Yeah, I'm still at work because my internet at home has been struggling lately.
yeah, I was just gonna say, so even though you took a break from drag and drive, it sounds like you were still doing a lot of racing in that time frame.
Yeah. I try to have a balanced life with family stuff too, but yeah, my wife knows that I actually met her in 2017, so we were only dating for 4 or 5 months, and I was like, "I'm going on drag week 17." She's like, "What's that?" And she actually came the last day and surprised me at Cordova. So that was kind of nice.
That's when
Very
you knew
cool.
she was the one.
Yep, I guess so.
Well, what's the best ET the cars ran so far?
I think in 2011 or 12, down at Cordova, Eric Vickery had a test and tune day at the end of the year, and normally I was racing the car. It was pretty consistently low 480s in the 8th mile in the heads up classes, and I decided to run it through the back door, and it made a couple passes, and I think it went 764 at 182, and that was pedaling the car down from a wheelie between 80 and 100 feet. I had to blurp it.
Come on.
So I think it would have been faster, but the car only has an 850 cage in it, and I'll tell you what, I was ready to pull that parachute. That car made noise.
What am I doing?
Yeah, the car made noises that I've never heard before at that speed. Plus, I went through about 8,800 RPM, I believe, because I was running my 8th mile gear that I normally ran. So it was a lot of RPM.
Had all of it that it wanted.
Absolutely.
So what's the setup in the car now? Motor, trans, combo?
So I'm running a 565 cubic inch, short stroke, big bore. It's a Dart aluminum block. Right now it's about 13.5 to 1 compression. The camshaft is actually kind of an endurance grind, easy on valve train. It's nothing like crazy NA camshaft. I did that for a reason. And it's actually a nitrous cam that's in it. So it doesn't have a lot of cranking cylinder pressure, 13.5 to 1 compression, but obviously it gets the job done. Dart 355 CNC ported heads, pretty much out of the box. It's nothing too elaborate. I wanted it simple, but I do certain things, to all the engines. I used to build engines a lot, so there's certain things I do to kind of try and make them run the best they can.
Yeah.
And then sorry.
Well, I was just saying, then experience is really a good lead. I I don't know, leader into how to build your own stuff, because then you have your own techniques and things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every engine builder does stuff different, even though it's all the same purpose. Now I run a Power Glide tranny. It's a 180 first gear, nothing crazy. I think I'm running currently a 411 rear gear.
Holy jeez.
The first Dragon Drive, or 2018, or sorry, 19, I actually had a 421 rear gear in it, I think, or 430 gear in the back. And weirdly enough, the car now I've got it to go a little faster mile an hour, and it actually goes through the trap still at 85, 8600 every time. So,
and overdrive or anything like that in that, or you just live with RPM?
The converter that Cone built for me is actually, it's very street friendly. It goes down the road, 2,500, 3,000 if you're going 75 on the interstate. But
wow,
that's pretty low RPM considering to what I was running in like Drag Week 07. I was going down the road at like 4,000 RPM,
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually pretty street friendly. The RPM's not crazy. I have no overdrive. I like it that way. It's simpler. It's lighter.
Yep.
I know those overdrives are great for some people, but some have failures as well. So I just try to keep things simple, cheaper, hopefully hope for the best, and just, pushing your car to the limit is one thing, but when you're driving between tracks, I keep an eye on things. You can kind of just tell when the car's happy and the engine's happy, and when it's hot out, I like to, kind of take it a little bit easy, stop every, 40, 50 miles, take a break. And when it's cool out, just roll down the road as hard as you can.
Yeah. So, one thing that's neat about that car is, like, I would think running that low of an RPM, but as loud as that car is, it's still going to tax your entire system. Your entire body is going to be taxed from cruising in the decibel that car brings. Yeah,
it's actually not too loud in the car, Mike. I've got like Dynomat. Everybody, it's in this day and age, it's that car. It's been on the street a lot back in the day, and so I put thick dynamite matting everywhere in the floor and the firewall. So obviously, it's not that light, but it's pretty comfortable and quiet in the car. Everyone says how loud it is on the outside of the car, but I don't really hear it. My co-pilots will tell you that exhaust does get a little loud by the end of the day or the end of the week. And without, we don't have big fancy headphones to talk to each other in the car, but it's all part of it. It's kind of part of the experience, I guess.
Yeah. One more level of trust of like the hand signals.
Yes.
Two roads, right. 2 miles, 4 miles. Yeah.
Exactly. Or when you're cruising down the back roads with the Aussies and their twin turbo 69 Chevelle, and you decide to have a race down the 2-lane blacktop and you miss your turn, you're like, guy next, we just missed that turn.
Yep. Me and Matt Zelenko had the same thing happen. He was kind of navigating, getting pictures. We were literally flying in the rental van and pass our road, and we get down and we're like, because at each turn we would reset the mileage counter, right? So turn here 37 miles, reset it, get close. We looked down, we'd gone like 4 or 5 miles past where we should have, and we had just been talking and cruising, and he's getting pictures and stuff. So you got to have a navigator that pays attention.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about you being. Here's a note I have for an article that I'm writing about this, but being a champion once, some folks catch a break. Twice, that means you're doing something right. But dude, 3 times in a row, you got to tell us a secret. Like what's your pre-event prep look like? What are you doing a month out, 2 weeks out? And then what's your secret sauce?
I've been going to PRI literally for, I would say, close to 20 years. PRI is great for a lot of things, mainly like learning new stuff and talking to people. But as far as like my secret is, mainly I'm really picky about how I do things, wiring, routing lines, keeping things where they need to be. Because obviously I grew up running my car on the street. I lived out in the middle of nowhere, so to street race in Cedar Rapids, it was a 30-minute drive down the interstate. So I've always kind of been acclimated to driving the car on the street a lot. And, you know, I'm not easy on stuff when I drive it on the street. Like my co-pilots and other racers, they'll tell you, like Brian Havlick and his cousin, we were they're cruising down the road at 55 mile an hour about falling asleep. And I just blow by them at like 150 plus mile an hour, wide open, and scared the crap out of them. But you obviously got to run reliable parts. I've always, spent a little extra money on something better to, not only have the confidence, but, the stuff will hold up. And I've tried things that haven't worked. I tried running an aluminum spool once that made it about 60 feet and put me about in the wall. Thinking it'd be lighter and, sometimes heavier and more reliable stuff is important, whether it's your engine or, the drivetrain, everything. But yeah, I guess the biggest secret I would say is just doing your homework and doing everything the same, keeping your program maintenance. That's the biggest thing. I built engines for a long time. I really never had bearing failures. I'll reuse bearings half the time when I redo the engine, but running good oil, putting the engine together very clean, that's kind of my secret, I guess, as far as the engine longevity. Transmissions, found transmission in Iowa City. He's been great. I've literally had little to no transmission issues. I used to run a 350 turbo in my car, believe it or not.
Wow.
Running like 480s, 5.0s and at the 8th mile. And it's stock case 350 turbo. That was before they came out with the good cases. So I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'm just doing it right. And I just try to do my thing and check all the boxes and make sure everything is ready to go. So,
and one thing that I always preach is that guys that build their stuff will typically do better than guys that have someone else build. Not that it's a bad way to do anything, but what wire goes where, what parts are, what alternator fits on that car. Oh man, this bolt had to be a metric because of this, and this bolt had to be a standard because of that. So, we see that a lot in those 3 o'clock in the morning roadside repairs, fixing valve springs. That comes in real handy.
Yeah, that was rough. But yeah, it's all important. In my opinion, I try to make things almost look like a show car when I can. And literally oil leaks are my worst enemy. So I try to avoid absolutely everything. If you look at my car, literally that engine has not been out of there since I put it in 2019. I've changed so the last 2 years, I've changed valve springs right before I come. The night right before I left in 2021, a few weeks prior, I lost my grandparents both in the same week, and I almost didn't go. And my wife, we were sitting on the couch the night before, and she's like, "Are you going to get out there and get your car ready? You're leaving tomorrow." I literally at 10:30 at night went outside and threw a set of valve springs in my car, adjusted the valves, and found out that my titanium valve tips were actually wearing like a trough. And I sanded them down and put lash caps on them and made the whole show and ended up winning. So that was kind of a cool deal. But the following year, it was actually that year. My wife had a baby in 2021, the week after I got back. So
wow.
That was a crazy week as well. I was kind of worried about, am I going to have to fly home or not? And telling Seth, my co-pilot, it's like, hey, I'm not sure, if we're going to be able to finish this week or not, but I wasn't going to miss that.
Yeah.
Right. That made me think of one of a shot that I saw earlier, and I'll just share it here real quick. When he talks about the car being clean, this is what he's talking about right here. I mean, that's intense, man. That is so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, real clean.
Yeah. Thanks. I spent a lot of time hiding hoses, lines, wires. Like my transmission lines go down, they come out the side by the radiator and they go down the center of the unibody factory frame, and then it comes out underneath the car to the transmission. So I've always kind of tried to do that with the car, and it just keeps it clean. It's easier to work on. It's easier to clean. And also it keeps, things away from heat. So a lot of times people have problems. I feel like it's kind of self-inflicted. They're not, making wiring connections good. They're not running things away from heat, headers. Things are
a lot of people run into the thrash to get it done. That wire will be fine, zip tied up here, and then they never fix it.
I think we've all been there in certain times. Yes, it happens.
And that's one benefit to having a car for so long,
Yeah. So are you a trailer guy, basket guy, or do you show up and yard sale all your items?
My first experience with the trailer in Drag Week 17 wasn't so great. And I just realized, you don't need all that stuff. The trailer's heavy. There's really no point. So luckily I have a hatchback, and we took the back seats out so I can put totes in there I have basically a tote full of tools, and they're clear totes so you can see what's in them. I have a tote full of like liquids, an oil filter, some things like that. And then I have a small tote with just some extra parts, crank trigger, sensor. I don't even know what else is in there, but I just have a few things, throttle cables in there. I try to keep the things that, you would hope you don't need, but if you do need them, you're not going to find them somewhere.
Right.
And that aren't too heavy.
Yeah. And aren't too heavy. Like I probably carry, I would say, including our luggage, like our bags with our clothes in them, I'm going to guess 300 to 400 pounds max in the back of my car.
Wow.
So I keep it pretty simple. We've been lucky. Obviously, some people have a lot of problems. I don't have like a extra drive shaft and transmission and rear end and overdrive. But I usually carry 2 valve springs with me, just 2 of them in case something weird happens, and 1 set of lifters. Not a full set, just two actual lifters. And hope that, everything else is fine.
Nice. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say this year I might experience, especially on the East Coast evasion, I'm kind of working on building a drag and drive trailer, but I'm going to keep it pretty light.
Okay. So without a trailer, then you must drive on your race tires the whole week?
Yeah, I don't bring spare tires. I don't switch tires at the track. I think I'm probably one of the very few cars in my class, if the only one, that races and drives on the exact same tires. And in fact, last year I couldn't even get new tires. So we were joking to Mickey Thompson. I'm like, I guess I'm the used tire mafia this year, running on 3-year-old radials. The front ones are actually 4 years old. And so, yeah.
That's pretty intense, dude. I can't, that would be a level of stress I don't care to have.
Which it's kind of cool. I mean, it's simple as long as everything's going good, right? It's when something goes wrong that you're like, ah, crap.
Yeah, you got to pay attention. Obviously, don't drive over things on the road. When it's raining, like last year, we drove through a whole day of rain, and it was raining good. But I drive right down the freeway. The car doesn't mind. I'm used to it, and I don't slow down. And the back roads, those blacktop roads, you get on those oil roads and they're just slick as ever. So the drag radials actually do really well in the rain, believe it or not, at least for my car. So, right. But they're not 2 feet wide either.
Right. I was just saying, we were talking about, I was talking to Hyde yesterday about route stops and how, or the route, there's not, turn by turn directions and things like that. So that actually brings me into kind of your Midwest Drags event strategy, because you have to make 2 hits a day. The real-time results, which are, when a racer turns in their time slips, it automatically populates to the website. So what's your typical strategy for your class? I mean, obviously you've won every time you've been there, so you got to have some kind of good strategy for that.
Yeah, the live times that's really nice for a couple reasons. One, you can kind of see where the other guys are at. The other thing is you can keep track of your own stuff too, especially when the week goes on. You're going to be like, hey, this is going to affect my average. Last year I had a issue where a pin that holds my shifter cable out in there actually popped out, and it wouldn't let me shift to second gear. And I'm just banging on the shifter trying to get it to shift. It's up against the rev limiter. I never lifted, and I finally, for some reason, it actually shifted, and I finished the run and still went like 896 or something. But
that's awesome.
And then the track was having some issues. There was some water on the track. Everyone was kind of having some problems with. So I made another decent pass, and I just told them, I was like, you know what, it's not worth wrecking the car. We got another day we have to make. Let's just move on, you know. And I felt confident that we were going to still be in the spot. So,
well, and being able to drive along and see where you're at, I think that, you know,
Absolutely.
we talk about stress level and adrenaline. That would, for guys that are coming this year, that's going to be a whole nother level of stuff. You're not going to be waiting until, you know, 11 p.m. or 3 a.m. for that list to come out with everybody's average. So.
yeah.
So you gave a few co-pilot names earlier. What are a few things that new drag and drive racers should consider in a co-pilot?
Like I said earlier, how you both function under stress and lack of sleep is huge. Encouraging each other to kind of like continue on, and then trust. You know, trust's a big thing. I drive crazy on the roads. Like both my guys will tell you that. There's probably times where they were fearing for their life, but they trust me, and you know I got to return that and trust them. You know, it's got to be a mutual thing. Otherwise, it doesn't really work out. So you never know where you're going to be at that night. So, you know, back on the strategies. You know, get on the road as fast as you can. There's, you know, when you get stuck out on the road, you kind of understand it's like lollygagging around. It's kind of nice to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, racing in the morning is nice. When I raced in events, I raced in race week, and they do night racing, which is great for your adrenaline because you're driving to get to the track to race.
Yeah.
But man, at the end of the night, you are absolutely wiped out because you've been doing it all day, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Bill here says a co-pilot should have mechanical abilities.
Unlike him.
Yeah,
Bill had said earlier he's not co-piloting anymore. He's just going for media.
Yeah. So I guess the question that everybody wants to know is, for 2023, are you coming back to Midwest Drags for a three-peat?
We're going to try. I'm not coming to lose. I'm coming to win. So,
Yeah.
Well, what's it going to take to beat you?
I actually thought about this one. One, you're gonna have to perform. You're gonna have to make it happen, but you also gotta make it happen. 8 passes?
Yeah.
So you gotta have the want to. That's for sure, I guess. I don't know what this year is gonna come. I think I don't know if you want me to get into this yet or not, but I got another car I'm bringing, and I'm running the exact same powertrain from my other one. I just don't want to cut my other one apart because I've had that car since I was 15. So I'm going to leave that 850 cage in it with the swing out door bars, but I wanted something, you know, safer. So it's got a full cage in it. I have no limits on how fast it can go now. So I'm kind of hoping to get the car. My goal is to try and get the car around 3,000 pounds with me in it.
Wow.
And
so you're bringing the new car to Midwest Drags? Is that the plan?
That's the plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Hoping to debut it at Sick Summer, if everything's ready. So I got a lot to do, but I'm freshening the engine up, see how that is, and maybe come with a little more horsepower. But I like the small stroke, big bore stuff. It's easier to drive. It works well. You don't have to worry about a lot of torque blowing the tires off. I like to make, you know, A to B passes.
Awesome.
Have you announced what the car is yet?
It's actually called the Evil Twin. And that's because it's the exact same year, exact same car as what I have.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the plan for the original car then? If you're pulling the drivetrain out, are you going to throw something else in it, keep street driving it, or?
I kind of made a modular to where wiring connectors, everything I could flip them back and forth if I need to. But that car's probably going to end up back with the small block I still have in it, and kind of be more street oriented, maybe a little quieter. But this one, I also made it to where I can throw the small block in it too if I want to run it on a small block. It'll lighten up the car even more. If I want to run a small block in it, I can do that. So I built it to where I have motor plates for both ways. Everything will work both ways, and I have basically 2 sets of headers. So
Dude, that's awesome. Well, I did learn today that Smith Brothers Motorsports has put up $1,000 for the 2023 modified NA champ. So
nice.
one of my always questions to guys that have, done like you and repeated their championships is like, is there any racers that you're nervous of or that you would be excited to see because it's going to be competition in the lanes?
I wouldn't say I'm exactly nervous, but there's a couple guys coming to mind. Matt Bryson, I raced with him in Drag Week 2017. He was awesome, stand-up guy. Him and his wife Jen, they're an awesome team. And Jason Tapscott, I always love seeing those guys. I got to hang out with them at PRI a little more. Him and Amanda, they're a great team. That's cool to see. So yeah, it'd be cool to see those guys. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, have you ever been to Virginia Motorsports Park, AFCO, or Cecil, or any of those tracks?
I haven't been to any of them, so it'll all be kind of cool to see the tracks, be able to get to compete at those places. On the Cecil's a sea level track, right? Pretty close.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that stuff. I've never really spent much time on the East Coast, so it's going to be kind of cool to be over there. And I mean, obviously, Virginia to Pennsylvania and Delaware, we're going to pass the Capitol and all that kind of stuff. So there's tons of really historical stuff. I think that would give some really good backdrops for photography.
Absolutely.
And video stuff, which is what I'm going for. So, well, let's talk about Drag Week and your experience there, being a single pass, and then the 2-pass deal at Midwest Drags. They're both hard in the same way, but how does your strategy now differ from what you did at Drag Week?
Drag Week, some of the drives were long and rough, but there's always long legs of Midwest Drags as well. So those long drags days, you just kind of have to be prepared for and try and get on the road a little sooner. But I personally like the 2 days deal. I feel like it's more competitive because you have to make double the passes every day. So if you break something or you can't make an A to B pass, you're struggling. So I feel like my car always I always try to make it instead of swinging for the fence. I try to make the thing go A to B every time. I honestly can't think of. I had one wasted pass this year, and I think that was when that truck hit the wall at 42, was it?
Yep.
And I went. I think I went either right before him or right after. I can't remember. I think it was right before. Yeah, I was a few cars before that, and my car literally set sideways. It's the only time that car's ever blown the tires off. So there was something, I believe, on the track, and unfortunately, he didn't get it caught and hit the wall, which really sucks.
Yeah. But, that was a really nice truck too. I think that was Rick something, because his name's Big Rick, and then you got Little Rick is his son.
Yeah, good family. Yeah,
great dudes for sure. And that truck had I think a Gen 3 Hemi in it. It was pretty neat. It was a Little Red Express 80s Dodge truck. I don't know. Well, we talked about eight passes, talked about with you can't have a throwaway pass if you've got to turn in 8 across 4 days. So that's for sure. One stat that I thought was really cool, and Jay Blanchard and I have talked about this quite a bit, is that if they had used their fastest 5 passes from Midwest Drags, they would have actually set a new record for the 850 class because they had an 8.508 average. But because of the 8 passes, they ended up like an 8.516 for 2022. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into, especially class racing, those guys are index style racing. For those guys that can't go any faster than that. So I think with your new car, you won't have to worry about breaking out of a cage cert.
Yeah, it made me a little nervous last year on 41. My first pass, I think, if I remember right, it was like an 857 or 850. I think it was 853. at the best mile an hour too. It was running really good that day. And I purposely put a little more into it at the starting line, and the track took it. It went like 122, 60 foot, both passes.
Wow.
But second pass, I was really nervous to stay in it the whole time, because usually my car will speed up. If you watch it, it normally will speed up a couple hundredths maybe, or a couple thousandths in the second run. So already being that close, I was a little nervous, but yeah, that was a good track that day.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, man, I want to say thank you for coming on and hanging out with us. I know you were backstage for a while there while we kicked the show off. I
That's
want
all
to
right.
let everybody know this will not be the last time we talk to you. There's a few months leading up to Six Summer and Midwest Drag. So as you get closer to the car being ready, obviously we want to have you back on and see how the progression of the new cars coming and all that stuff. Is there a place that people could follow that build that's on social media anywhere, or you just send me pictures and I'll post them?
Yeah, I guess I could post some stuff. I usually keep things pretty secret, a lot of stuff, honestly. But
Okay.
there's a lot of reasons for that. Everyone has their way of doing things, and
Mhm.
I like to do a lot of things different. But I like to kind of let people see the finished product. But maybe I'll put
Okay.
some photos out there, and
Yeah.
you can share them if you want.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, dude, thanks again for coming on and hanging out. There was a ton of great comments over here in the chat, so hopefully we got most of those here on the screen. And again, you're going to be on here again soon, so I'm really excited about that. And then we'll see each other again at Midwest Drags, and I'll be following you around with a camera and a microphone, and we'll touch base just probably almost every day, seeing where you're at and seeing how the championship can you four-peat, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah,
Thank
hopefully I'll be able to get a chance to stop by and chat with you at Six Summer too, and kind of
Yeah.
see how the new car is going.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It's kind of in my backyard, so I pretty much know all those tracks pretty well, and the
Yeah,
roads between them.
Yeah, I'm in northern Illinois, kind of Wisconsin border, so I'm probably half hour from Byron.
That's cool. Yep. Well, perfect. Well, dude, thank you again for hanging out.
For having me.
You're more than welcome to hang out in the backstage if you want to talk to us after the show's over, or listen to all of our ramblings from here on out. We've got the Eric Saffell set up next, and we'll finish the show out after that. So thanks again, Terry. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
What a cool dude.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm telling you, I love his car. It's so neat to it really is loud. I want you to understand it really is loud. But
Yeah.
I keep jabbing at him about that because it's funny to me that it really was, I think, at one point the loudest car on the property. But it runs so well. And it is that picture that I put up earlier does it no justice for cleanliness under the hood of it and inside. You know, typically a lot of cars, he's talking about the Dynamat and the floor. It's genius because it keeps a lot of the heat off of you as well. So
Right. Yep.
heat's a big deal in the summer times at these events. So
Yeah. Bill says fans at Byron are amazing. I always like going to Byron. New owners this year, I think they're going to do a lot of cool stuff. So I've already seen some new events that they're going to put on. So I'm excited to see how this year goes, and hopefully I'll get my car finished so I can go make a couple passes myself.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, you're going to have to do that for sure. Well, before we jump into the Eric Saffell conversation, I do want to thank Sweet Patina. They are our Built for Drag and Drive sponsor for 2023. Sweet Patina has a full offering of detail products from car wash soap to degreaser to interior conditioner. Sweet Patina has 11 detail products you need in your garage. All products can be used on glass. I don't know. Probably glass too. I don't know. Satin, matte, and patina finishes. My favorite item is actually holding up my new webcam, which the fix your face thing has seemed to be corrected. Now we just get the glitchy thing. My favorite product is their TKO hand cleaning wipes. I had a bunch of those at Sick Week with me, and I will have a bunch at the circuit and Midwest Drags, handing those out to guys that are wrenching on their car. They are a heavy duty waterless wipe. It really is the go-to when you are out in the garage working on your car. If you are on the roadside fixing your stuff, you know, if you hadn't had to work on your car on the side of the road, you haven't done a drag and drive. And, you know, use code DND57 at checkout for a discount at sweetpatina.com. I think we should probably get Destroyer 1320 to read that one too, or maybe if there's a female out here that would like to do an ad read for us, I'd love to do that as well. So we have a few people that I have in mind for that. I'll be reaching out to as well.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the Eric Saffell video. He works as the national sales manager or sales national account manager, at AFCO Performance Group. He's been on a couple times before. We discussed the benefits of low friction ball joints and bushings, which sounds boring, but he kind of tells us why they're important and how they can actually make you faster. This is a pre-recorded video, so the chat will work and everything like normal, but it is pre-recorded and edited because Eric's schedule right now is so crazy. He had just gotten back from Lights Out 14 and was getting ready for his next trip. I literally caught him. 24 minutes is what he had. He said, I got a 30-minute window. I took 24 of it. And so it was a lot of fun doing that. He'll be back on in the future as well. So let's get that thing going. Different times. I'm excited about today's spot though, because we're going to actually probably get into a little bit of product detail, where in the past we've really kind of talked about your entire history with AFCO and your drag and drive stuff and drag racing. So we want you to introduce yourself and give some folks a little bit of that history. But if they want to really dive deep into who Eric Saffell is, they can jump back on some of those other longer podcasts.
Sure, absolutely. Good to be here, by the way. I really appreciate the opportunity to jump on and everything that you're doing for the segment of the sport, which to me, I think is exceptionally cool.
Yes.
I'm Eric Saffell. Started out as the drag product manager for AFCO Racing Products. And then through the evolution of my time here, I'm finishing up my 29th year with the company. So, knock on wood. The title is national account manager, but really it's whatever that we need to do to get out there and promote the sport. Quickly, I've spent 20 plus years as a drag racer myself. Worked with a lot of teams, both as friends and grunt help to, from a capacity of working with a company here. So really just have a love for the sport. And I got to tell you, I really thought that after my daughters got through college, I'd get back to being a drag racer. But I honestly think this drag and drive segment has me hooked. So
I'm telling you, it'll change your life.
It really does. It really does.
Yep.
I mean, I had that opportunity to jump in 2021 with a buddy of mine. We were in the modified NA class, and we had a great time. Had a little electrical problems day one, which I think we talked about in the previous segment. But man, it was so awesome. I've never worked so hard to be so worn out to have a good time. It was fantastic.
It is intense, and what's wild about it, at the end of the week, there's such a feeling of accomplishment that that's why I love drag and drive. I mean, I really do. That's why we do this and all that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we rolled on to the property up there at Summit Motorsports Park. I think we were running on adrenaline. We were just completely shot. We couldn't even, I think we just high-fived each other in dead silence. Of course, our ears were bleeding because we couldn't hear anything. But it was awesome. Just that feeling of accomplishment.
Oh, yeah. And just as you're pulling in, you kind of do the knuckles. We made it.
Yeah, just whatever we had left. Just, okay, let's just finish this. So it was pretty cool.
That's exciting. Now, we're going to talk about some events here in just a little bit as well that you have planned maybe for 2023 and beyond. But right now, the reason this whole thing started, this whole conversation that we're having right now, started because of a product that I think we both feel like could really help, one, the drag racing community, but then also the drag and drive community. So why don't you kind of give us a little bit of insight into what that is?
Absolutely. And for all the horsepower that we make, the chassis has to work. It all has to work in concert. So we know that we can get more power now than we've ever been able to get before, but we've got to work on the rest of the package. And so in conversation that I'd had with a few people, and Hyde from Midwest Drags, I think was probably the champion for us to get together at this time.
Oh, yeah.
It was, let's talk about low friction ball joints, which everybody talks about tires and converters and transmissions and horsepower and turbos and stuff, because that's all the sexy stuff. But the stuff that makes it work, we sometimes overlook. So So we started talking about low friction. And if you think about it, these chassis, these cars, they've got to transfer weight front to back.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then we're going to spin the tire. So then we go into the laptop, we pull power, we go down, we get A to B, but we're not taking advantage of everything that we spent our hard-earned dollar on. So that's really, and that goes back to AFCO years ago. We developed this low friction package, and it's available primarily for the GM products. And I hate it that it's not available for all the other brands, but there's just an awful lot of GM muscle cars that are out there.
Yeah.
You know, so in terms of application, it's traditional GM, you know, muscle. And if you've got ball joints that have a lot of stiction, that really are firm and don't let the front end move, we've lost something, or we can gain something there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it's started. I've got a couple of examples, and I hope this comes through. We can kind of show it. But here is a traditional OEM ball joint. Okay. And I'm going to try to hold it, and I can't move it. I cannot get that thing. And that's just a standard upper ball joint that happens to thread in. Now, this is our low friction ball joint. And this is just index finger and thumb. And there's no magic in what I'm trying to do, but what I'm trying to show is how much of an improvement we've got over, you know, a standard ball joint package in the front of these cars.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed when I was doing some research here a little bit ago was that, you know, the difference in weight that it takes to move that compared to the low friction setup. And it really made me think, like, as that arm is coming through the cycle, if it's having to fight against that the whole time, that's just one more reason maybe the front doesn't come up or pull out like it should.
Absolutely. And it could be that these tracks aren't all perfect. I mean, you know, I've been to a lot of us have either watched or been to a radial tire race. I just came back from Lights Out 14 last week. You better bolt your shoes on, because they're going to come off if you don't, you know, on the but not everybody races on those surfaces. And I think that's a good thing, that we don't all race on uber prep surfaces. So if you've got a car that's marginal on horsepower to traction, that ratio, okay, everything we can do to stack the odds in our favor makes it more likely for us to go A to B and make a good pass.
Yeah. So, and that's the goal. And especially, like, for what's funny is, as you were doing that, I was like, man, if I had pulled my factory one out and it did that, I would throw that thing in the trash and get a new one. But that's what these are made for.
Absolutely. And I've got something else to show too. This is a control arm bushing. Again, traditional GM muscle. When you can take the inner sleeve and roll that thing around like this, by the time you put low friction bushings and ball joints in your GM muscle car front end, now you've significantly reduced all that friction that we want to alleviate.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the purpose. We talked about shocks in the last episode with, you know, valving and things like that you guys do as cars progress and get faster through someone's time with them, and lighter, and all the things that come into play. Well, things like that would certainly change the way a car would leave the line and manipulate, and even down the track too, with settling and the front end coming back down and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The suspension has to move. It has to move freely with control, you know, and again, that goes back to the shock side. We need control, but if the suspension's so bound up, the shocks are not able to control it, or not able to give us the type of control we need, because the suspension is bound, we're not going to see the performance we're looking for in that situation. So, and let me share a quick story with you. I was working a race, and we'll change the names and locations to protect the innocent, but working a race, walk in the pits, have an AFCO shirt on, and I hear a guy yell, "Hey, are you the AFCO guy?" Well, that can go either way, right? So we go over there, and the gentleman has a really high-end super stock car. We had just serviced the shocks. and he had made 2 attempted passes to go down the racetrack and had aborted the runs, spinning the tires. So he proceeds to ask questions about what we may have done to his shocks that prevented him from making good runs. Because before he sent the shocks to us, no problem. And he'd send them to us just precautionary. Let's just service these things.
Yep.
So the more we go, the more he's got the shovel and he's digging, and he's starting to really get frustrated with us. And I'm asking questions, and we're talking, trying to have a real deep dive into what's going on. And I can see a guy he's down on his one knee, and he's looking at the front of the car, and all at once he says, "Hey, boss, while the front end was apart, while the shocks were off, we went ahead and put new upper and lower control arm bushings and ball joints in this thing. And it absolutely killed the car. I mean, bound up. Now, in defense, they were trying to do what they thought was best, because they probably felt a little bit of looseness. But the OEM ball joints, they're designed to go thousands of miles. And these are durable as well. We can bolt these things in.
Yeah.
You'll have no problems. No problem at all. But that gentleman couldn't have gotten his size 13 foot out of his mouth any quicker. I mean, he started to apologize back. And we made a friend, as a result of it. But man, I'm telling you, those guys, they thought.
And now he runs the low friction setup across the whole front of the car.
It was funny, because I did say, we do have an option for you here. But that, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one of the reasons you're on today. And you talked about Hyde, and Hyde is always looking for ways to maybe offer a different idea or a different way to look at stuff for the drag and drive racers and the autocross guys that he works with. So pretty impressive stuff. Well, I definitely love that product. Now, the one thing we all are wondering is, with you on the Lights Out, are we going to see any of those guys in some of the drag and drive cars later? Or are we going to see you in a drag and drive car?
The Lights Out guys, and there's a group of them. I mean, from Radio versus the World down to Limited Street, the 235 class, and the Index guys. I talk to those people a lot. We're going trailer to trailer talking to these people, and I ask them where they're from, what they're doing, whatever. And you'll get a handful of people that say, well, this is a car that I'm going to end up doing a drag and drive event with. It just happens to be my high school car, or it's like my high school car. And so we get that. I'm working on trying to put together a deal to be involved again this year, and in the Midwest drags at least.
Cool.
I still have some work to do, so we'll see how successful I am at putting it together. But again, near and dear to my heart, and if I can get out there and get my hands dirty, we're going to do it.
Yeah, well, I'll be pit announcing at Midwest Drag, so that's another reason gotta turn that number up a little bit there and get you going. So.
Absolutely.
What's the next event that you are attending as far as, I hate to say assistance, but being there to help the racers?
We attended all of the PDRA races last year, pit side with service vehicle ready to do, repair work on shocks and whatnot.
Yeah.
We're going to continue that again this year, follow the PDRA. And then, I'll pick up a couple of some no prep events this year through the middle of the year with some, trackside services there.
Yeah.
The Midwest drags, certainly something I've targeted, and then we'll wrap it up with the No Mercy event at the end of the year. So, and in between all that, there'll be some additional, events as well. I'll try to pick up.
Yeah.
So it'll be a busy season for us.
Bring it on. Well, where can people talk to the tech support? Where can people, if they have questions, where can they ask all that stuff? What's the best way for them to get that without overrunning you with all their questions?
Our tech team here is really great, and I'm one of the guys. We talk to folks on a daily basis. So, AFCORacing.com is the website. Phone number is on there. You can call in and talk to one of the guys on tech. And we're specialized in a way here. We've got people that are really good with sprint cars. We've got people that are really good in the circle track, modifieds, and late models. And we've got people that are good in the drag and drive, the drag racing, things of that nature. So I would encourage people that when you call in, just let the representative know what you're wanting to talk about, and they'll get us, get them to the right people here for sure.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on this week. Obviously, everybody's watching this. This is a pre-recorded spot. We'll get you on the live stream and let these folks in the chat give you some questions as well at some point in the future, maybe after one of the big races. So thanks so much, Eric. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
You're muted.
Here, let me unmute and talk to everybody.
There you
I think
go.
I really enjoyed talking to Eric. There was a few more minutes there of conversation that we talked about for some other events and some other topics coming up. We talked about how baskets and trailers affect the spring rate and things within a shock for these drag and drive guys that run baskets and carry their tires in the trunk and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that is coming up as well in the future. He just didn't have time again. Like I said, I took 24 of the 30 minutes he had to get that bit of segment there. So it's pretty exciting. That video wasn't obviously 24 minutes, but I want to say thanks to him and everybody that's been in tonight, man. The chat has been absolutely crazy. It's been wild. We got Brandon over here talking about 4-wheel drive square body trucks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, dude, I've had fun tonight. You want to tell them who we got coming up next week?
Yeah, next week we have Mr. 100, right? We have Cooper Bogetti as our bump spot. And we also have Emily Ballard, who is the fastest woman of 2022. Yeah,
I'm excited to have both of those on, to be honest. But Cooper, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. He has, if nobody's been paying attention to podcasting, automotive podcasting is blowing up. There's a lot of new folks that are out there. And he has one that is Bogetti Studios. So that's kind of exciting for him. He's interviewed a lot of really fun people and has had a good conversation across all those episodes that he's got. I listened to one of those just actually this morning while I was headed into work. And then Emily Ballard, of course, fastest woman in drag and drive of 2022. She is the third fastest woman in drag and drive history. So that's kind of exciting. And the first gen Camaro that her and her boyfriend or husband, I don't know their deal. I didn't dig too much into social media stuff for them, but they're also on what's called a builder's brawl, which is like a race that'll come up later this year. She's racing in that, as well as a few other drag and drive events for this year. So I'm excited to see, is Cooper going to do more than just Sick Week because it's in his backyard? Are we going to see him at Drag Week again? Are we going to see him maybe at Midwest Drags? And then, of course, for Emily, is she coming back? Is she going to be faster? Who can compete for the third spot? Who can compete for the first spot? I mean, Alex Taylor currently holding it with a 698 average, and then Tina Pierce right behind her with a 720 average, 728 average or something like that. So
and Emily's car is super clean. If you haven't seen it in person, I know you saw it at Drag Week in Byron. I saw it at PRI in 21 as well, and that's Vortec LS3, I believe. Vortec supercharged LS3. But the paint on it is incredible. It's a beautiful maroon color, super nice.
Brandy wine kind of color.
And it'll be cool to talk to Cooper. It'll be cool to talk about the drag and drive stuff and then kind of hear his experiences doing some of the podcasts as well.
Yeah, he's had a lot of really fun guests on as well. I mean, a lot of drag and drive people. I think he recorded several of those while people were at Sick Week. And then Brandon here asking, are you announcing in July for Midwest Drags? Yes, I will be there as a pit announcer and probably helping Josh Castle in the tower more than what I did last year. My plan is to spend a lot of time in the pits for the live stream guests, the people at home watching on the Midwest Drags YouTube channel will have it there, and then also on Facebook as well. But again, to recap what we said earlier in the episode tonight, is the Midwest Drags live stream is a full production within itself. We have an entire team that comes on to help. We have, so we really look at it as two different scenarios. You have people that are there to watch, and we have people that are at home watching. And so we're going to add a lot of videos that lead up to things. We're going to, I'm actually planning to go up before the event and spend a couple days and get some route driving done and things like that, and see if I can get some cool route stops and photography opportunities. I think that's the big thing. If you're going to be that close to the Capitol and in that amount of historical stuff, you know, I feel like you've got to kind of test it a little bit. The hard part is traffic in those spots sometimes is a little tricky. So you've got to kind of work around that, especially if you have a car that likes to overheat or doesn't like to sit in traffic for very long. So you got to kind of pick your routes. I know one of the routes we have is right along 103. Hyde was talking about it in an interview I did with him the other day, talking about the 103 is like, old historical, all the cool stuff will pass and all that. So that's a video that's coming out pretty soon as well. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun. We're winding up here, man. I feel like we didn't even get started yet. And,
Right.
It's coming. So it's coming. Rest while you can. That's all I'm telling everybody. So 301, Brandon corrected me, 301, not 103.
Buckle up. It's about to get rowdy.
That's exactly right. So again, 34 days until Southeast Street Meet. If you have not done it yet and you would like to sign up, please jump over there and get signed up for that event. Looks like it's a ton of fun. I just don't think I can make the spring event with our event being the next weekend. So, all right, cool. Thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out an hour and 45 minutes. We had some of the top comments tonight. We had I think we had more people than we've had in a while in here. So that's exciting. And we'll be back. I'm going to do a quick episode. I'm going to record it tomorrow for Saturday morning because we have the last gymnastics meet for my daughter this weekend. So be the last trip for that. And then of course, next couple of weeks we start for drag and drive trips. So
absolutely.
Right, yep.
Next week, same time, same place.
Yep. 8 p.m. Eastern for all. I wish everybody could see all of the channels we're live on. So if you follow me or Eric anywhere, we're live there on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Drag and Drive Show, brought to you by Summit Racing.